Good evening.
Don't
Am I on? I'm on. Okay.
I'm
Good
not.
evening. You better turn him on.
I'm always on.
Okay. Welcome. Thank you for coming. My name is Christa Wessel, and I'm the morning host of what is undoubtedly your favorite radio station, All Classical FM. Good. It's always good to get affirmation about that. This, of course, is our music director, Carlos Kalmar.
Good evening, everybody.
You look great.
Oh, thank you.
Summer treated you well.
Yeah, happens.
Speaking of summer, it's interesting. Today's the first day of fall. Did you know that?
No.
But you've started off the program tonight with a summer piece of music.
Oh, God, yeah. Darn, I gave away one thing. I could have made a story out of that.
Oh, yeah?
I missed out.
You missed an opportunity.
Yeah. I don't follow these rules of when does the summer end, when does the fall start, because everything happens so quickly. And although the summer is just, 24 hours ago, my own summer was long time ago. That's
Right.
my feeling.
Because you spend the summer in Chicago.
Oh, that would have been nice. Yes, I spent the summer in Chicago, but also in the summer I was in Vienna, in Madrid, in Sao Paulo, in Buenos Aires, in Montevideo, and in Bloomington, Indiana.
Well, there's a great music school there. What were you doing in IU?
I was working with, they created a festival at the end of the school year where the best students play alongside with faculty members and some, maybe 3 or 4 former students who are now in important positions. So I did the final concert of that little festival. We had a good time together.
But no vacation?
I actually had a vacation that was exactly 8.5 days. Because I had to work in Sao Paulo, in Brazil, and when you have to travel that long distance, you think, come on. Buenos Aires and Montevideo are just around the corner, 2-hour 30 flight, and I was born in Montevideo, so let's go there. It's winter. It's winter. In the summer here, it's winter there, but we got very, very lucky. Weather was really fine, and temperatures always in the upper 50s. Can be very different there, but it's great.
Well, summer, it's going to be hanging on just a little bit longer because you're starting the program with this Midsummer festival by Hugo Alfvén.
Yeah, that's actually the intention is to, because this year I had the pleasure, maybe it's just that I see things differently. I had the pleasure of, after the second leg of Chicago, I came to Portland, and I have been in Portland ever since, which is by now a little over a month, and I'm like, wow, I've never known that actually the summers in Portland are so amazing. Because usually I wasn't here, and I thought like, this is incredible. And then, of course, Portlanders tell me, well, actually for us the summer starts in August and ends by mid-October. So I'm like rooting for that. But yeah, I have become a real Portlander. I mean, riding my bike everywhere. Really? Yeah, I sometimes even make my own granola. I must be from Portland. Okay, let's talk about music. Yeah.
Actually, can we trade recipes after this?
Oh, yeah. This is a food town. What do you expect?
So what made you put this first piece of music on the program? The Oregon Symphony's never performed this before.
It's just that actually this is one of the very, very few, maybe there are 3 pieces in the course of many years where I bring something to Portland that I did in Chicago. Because in Chicago we have sometimes we are allowed to do programs that are a little bit off-center, meaning music that is not well known, because we don't need to sell tickets there. Admission is free in the festival. So we play music that is just out there and is interesting. And so I constructed a program that included that, because some friend had told me, by the way, do you know the Swedish Rhapsody No. 1 by Hugo Alfvén? And I said, no idea. I listened and I thought like, well, that is actually very interesting. Actually, this is very fun music. So I did it in Chicago, and I immediately thought this has to come to Portland because it's really, and it's even a great start for the season because, as you put it, sorry I missed that point, it's kind of a summer piece. And this piece is actually fun. I would even say that in tonight's program there are two pieces that are really absolutely about fun, and two pieces that go considerably beyond that, although they have something really very engaging. So the fun pieces are the Alfvén and the Norman. The Mozart is, well, it's just Mozart, what can I say about that? And the Rachmaninoff, of course, that's quite a piece. That, I mean, virtuosity, fun, yeah, but it's darker and way moodier. But the Alfvén piece, you will realize, Swedish Rhapsody, so it describes a little bit what happens during the celebration of the summer in one day. So you have literally everything that happens when people get together in the countryside in Sweden, which means there is a lot of dancing happening, and there is probably some drinking involved, because at some point you hear the melodies going kind of crazy. So you think like, oh, somebody is losing the way of walking in a straight line. There is even romance, because the music quiets down, and actually Alfvén himself said that that's the point when a couple kind of finds themselves in the woods and passion and la 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 la, and at the end everybody dances and everybody's happy, and it's very folksy. So what you have to expect is music that is incredibly engaging, great to listen. It's tunes you actually can whistle all the time, and it's, I mean, it belongs actually to the romantic music, although written not in a romantic era. But this is one of the actually that's maybe a parallel, if I can say that, between Alfvén and Rachmaninoff. Rachmaninoff also, the piece you're going to hear was written in around 1940, and if we think what actually was going on in 1914 classical music, that piece, the symphonic dances, are looking backwards harmonically and even structurally, but it's an enormous piece of music. But Alfvén is the same, romantic guy in the 20th century.
So if the Alfvén Swedish Rhapsody is tuneful, toe-tapping, the other fun piece you mentioned is the Andrew Norman. Can I say the whole title?
Yeah, but okay, so try.
Okay. So it was originally called Drip, Blip, Sparkle, Spin, Glint, Glide, Glow, Float, Flop, Chop, Pop, Shatter, Splash.
He shortened the title by now. He says the piece is called Drip. I have to tell you the story. I was the American Symphony Orchestra League, which now has a different name that I don't remember, has a yearly conference. And that conference, I think 3 years ago, was in Chicago. And the festival where I'm the principal conductor and artistic director, we did one of the main concerts there. And I also was in a discussion panel in that league, and that's how I met Andrew Norman. And we chatted a little bit about modern composition and that. It was not very long. And he also made a presentation. And he actually managed, because everybody was curious about the title, to say this title, don't make me say it, in 5 seconds. Like, you know, have you ever seen on YouTube this young guy, probably that was shot in the 50s, who could say the 50 states of the United States without taking any breath? Like, Alabama, I don't even remember all 50, but never mind. That's how he could do it, but he was probably the only man on the planet. And as far as that piece goes, and the fun thing is, in itself, that piece by Andrew Norman is very modern. It's very modern. It actually doesn't really have a melody. But it's great fun to listen, because he himself described it a little bit, and I think that's the way it is written in the program, that he, to each of these little words, drip, blip, sparkle, splash, he assigned a little, not a snippet, a rhythm, a part of a melody, and then he put everything in a bowl, and he tossed it up like a salad, and that's the piece. And I thought, like, that's actually very cool, and you are going to be really entertained. It's a piece that's loud. Yeah. There is some energy happening, but it's one of those pieces. It's also very short, 4 minutes of music, that grabs you, doesn't let you go, and you are constantly like, wow, what did I just hear? But it's already gone, because it's drip, blip, sparkle, and fun.
Because none of us have heard it before, can I ask another question about it? Each of those words, drip, blip, sparkle, are each of those words embodied by a particular group of instruments?
Not necessarily. After doing the piece, you realize, yeah, it's not really a mixed salad. It's not that simple. I mean, the piece has some structural elements. It's just not, the structure of the piece is not exactly in the terms of the old classic where you have a form of a sonata or God knows what. It's just more modern in its spectrum. And yeah, when the musicians of the Oregon Symphony, before we came to rehearsal, were studying the piece and were like, really? Of course, some of them told me that they were looking for, okay, what is the drip? What is the splash? What is the sparkle? Because, and of course you probably can, with the help of Andrew Norman, you can make that exercise of assigning what's what. But what's the point? I mean, just it's like eat a great salad. You don't need to know where the hazelnuts are.
There you go, talking about food again. Has he been here, by the way, as you've been rehearsing this? The composer?
Andrew's here, yeah. Andrew came here for the dress rehearsal. He was very happy. And as far as I know, he's here tonight. Is he here? Is Andrew here? No, not right now. But you'll see him.
Okay, so those are the two bright pieces. The other two, I would say, are considerably more moody. Talk about Mozart first, maybe? Mm-hmm. With the astounding John Kimura Parker, who's no stranger to Portland audiences. Charming, articulate, great guy.
Great guy, and he told me, I of course didn't know. He said, hey Carlos, do you know, by the way, that every piece, the last three pieces we have done together, he and I, are all in D minor?
That's not a particularly, it's kind of a scary key.
Rachmaninoff third, Brahms 1, and now Mozart D minor. And I said, okay, that's what we are going to do for lifetime. Let's go find the others. No, I mean, the great thing about Jackie Parker is he can play anything. I mean, he is definitely one of the players that can play the very big concertos. He has all the technique, the muscle, the mind to go off. Well, Rachmaninoff third, Brahms 1, really not a small piece. But he also has the versatility to have this, when he wants it, to have this wonderful gentle touch and the more classical approach to music when it's required by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. So it's just a joy to work with him, and it's just fantastic for us.
Well, this is one of only, two minor key concertos that Mozart wrote, piano concertos. And this, the first couple bars are just foreboding, ominous, moody, like, it feels like maybe the overture to John Giovanni or something very operatic and dramatic is going to happen. Like, look out.
Yeah, well, the interesting point of all of this is, first of all, this is written by the time when Mozart lived in Vienna already. So he left his job with the Archbishop of Salzburg, he eradicated in Vienna. And actually he needed to make some money. Because yes, he was a kind of successful teacher, but the core of his work, of course, is composition. So he needed to write some pieces, and in his last 10 years of life, he wrote 17 out of the 27 piano concertos that he wrote, alongside with a couple of operas and minor symphonies, as you know. I mean, he was really busy. And actually, some of these pieces he wrote specifically for donors, in this case for a lady who had a lot of money. Now, the strange thing is that in the time of Mozart, it was kind of a requirement that the aristocracy sits there, don't pay real attention to the music, and is captivated by the fact that the concerti are so like engaging. Every concerto ends starts with like padam, padam, and like wow. Now let's pay attention. Then there is a gamble, ping pong between the pianist and the soloist. Well, guess what? This concerto doesn't work at all like this. This concerto starts not only in a sort of fuzzy darkness, you can even not really make out, okay, what is the melody? Because everything moves in syncopations, and it's like hard to figure out, okay, what is the melody? It also starts very soft-spoken. And it's like moving on muddy sand at the beginning because of the syncopation, until finally the orchestra locks in and there is a sense of real rhythm then. But actually the first theme of this first movement in the Mozart's piano concerto appears when the soloist finally takes the lead. And then we establish something like, let's say, the usual ping-pong between a soloist and an orchestra. But in itself, the first movement of this wonderful piano concerto is, exactly as you said, it's moody. It changes. Sometimes it's bright, but mostly it's dramatic. And actually, Jackie is not the first soloist who says, I mean, even here in Portland, we have had Jeffrey Kahane, who played a fantastic Mozart, and Gary Colson, who played a phenomenal Mozart, and all of them say the same. They say, it's so close to opera, what Mozart writes. It's so operatic, and that is what you get in this concerto. It kind of, you think, actually, you're right, you think Don Giovanni in this particular piece. And the piece storms towards the cadenza, and after the cadence, which is when the soloist kind of takes off on its own, the piece kind of dies down. And then comes this amazing, magnificent second movement, to die for. But even in this very lyrical moment of Mozart, in the middle there is drama again. This G minor, where it's really dramatic, and then okay, lyrical again, and then out of the blue, without further announcement, the soloist starts with the last movement at quite a speed, and then because we are still in D minor, which is a dark tonality, and at the end happens the expected. Mozart turns to major, and it is like, maybe you get this feeling, it is like you have established this moody, dramatic thing with lyrical intersections, and at the end, finally, the music stops, we wait for a second, and then the rest of the concerto is in major, and it's like, and now let's be happy and go home.
Kind of like an opera.
It's like an opera. That's exactly what it is. And of course, because of the musical demands for the soloist, because of the fact that the second movement is so incredible, this is one of the most popular Mozart piano concerti that he wrote.
It's astounding from note one to the finale. As are the symphonic dances by Rachmaninoff, which takes us on quite a journey as well. I mean, you think dances, you think, okay, Rachmaninoff doing polkas. No, that's not quite right. But there's waltzes in there. but nothing that you could get up and tap your toes to necessarily.
It's kind of a strange thing because Rachmaninoff himself, that's something I did not know. Rachmaninoff himself actually thought a little bit about dance music because formerly he had written a piece that we all, of course, love, the Variations on a Theme of Paganini for Piano and Orchestra, great piece. And he had talked to some ballet companies about doing that as a ballet. And actually, then he wrote this piece, which is actually the last piece that he wrote. And he even here he thought about a ballet, and he played it to Michel Fokine. He played it for him, but he never got an answer. And then first Michel Fokine died, and then Rachmaninoff died 2 or 3 years after having written this piece. And you listen to the piece, and you do this piece, and you think, how on earth can you dance something like this? Because honestly, the only kind of strange thing, if I can say that, about this piece is the title. Because it's exactly what you think, what you said, symphonic dances, and you think like, haha. And there is nothing like that. There is this piece is, I would say, very substantial. It is also very rhythmical, but very in the Rachmaninoff way. And you mentioned the waltz. Yes, the second movement actually is a waltz, mostly. Not all the time, but mostly. But what type of waltz it is? On one corner of the waltz, you have, of course, Johann Strauss and all composers like that who are geniuses, and yeah, that is dance music. On the other side, you have a genius like Maurice Ravel, who wrote La Valse, and that is not exactly a ballet. It more depicts the morbidity of the Viennese society at the time. And in the middle, there is probably Rachmaninoff, who does a waltz that actually, in its moodiness, goes into the direction of something like La Valse by Ravel or the Valse Triste by Sibelius. It's a very sentimental way of doing a waltz. It's a very eerie way to looking at a ballroom. And sometimes you think it's he himself, Rachmaninoff, is at times overwhelmed with this wonderful Russian sentimentality. It's just very, very great. And then comes the last movement, where he uses the old Gregorian chant of the Dies Irae, the Day of Wrath. And you think, Day of Wrath in a dance piece? Where did that come from? But it's there. And it's actually, I would say, the Day of Wrath theme. It doesn't happen throughout the entire movement, but it has its prominent role. And I always get the feeling with the symphonic dances that with all these phenomenal colors that Rachmaninoff achieves, the ending of the piece also has this function of, I have had many lyrical thoughts throughout this piece. I had many dramatic thoughts throughout this piece. I had a great rhythm. I presented you a waltz. Now let's get this over with and get home. That's how the coda in the symphonic dance works. It's a little bit, if you all think about pieces by Rachmaninoff that you know very well, like Piano Concerto No. 2 and 3, both pieces work the same. At the end, there is this incredible virtuosic music, and then comes the lyrical part, a minute before the ending, that is so that Rachmaninoff writes like nobody else, that gets you into this grand music and mood and blows up the romanticism. And at the end, the pianist goes, I mean, the hands go so fast, it's incredible, and then the piece is over. Pretty much the same happens here. It is very, in a way, this fast-paced music is longer than in the piano concerti, but the effect is kind of the same. It's always getting back to lyrics, always. Actually, this piece makes you appreciate Rachmaninoff actually, I would say, as a lyricist. Not so much, because in the piano concertos you are always amazed about what a pianist can do. But in this piece, which is clearly an orchestral piece only, although he wrote it for 2 pianos first and then he orchestrated it, he shows more the colors and the different characteristic of what music can be, and that is absolutely, I love this piece. It's a great piece of music and I'm very happy to do it here.
And it's going to be a spectacular finale. The finale to the symphonic dances, some of the most magnificent orchestral music ever written. It'll have you up on your feet, I guarantee it. And this orchestra sounding so good.
We'll see. And even if you think, I know that I know that I always, when I talk about music, I kind of have this tendency of focusing on things that are darker. It's what happens. It's what gets you. At least gets me very much. I always understand music as a very deeply thought art form. And if you think symphonic dances and you hear the beginning, it's very. I mean, okay, I can't write music, but I never would have started a piece called Symphonic Dances like that, because you think, okay, symphonic dances must start something like that. Invent something. No, it doesn't start like that. It's like moving a little bit in darkness, little snippet of melody here, little snippet of melody there, quietness, energy, and then you're there in the middle of the dance. But it's good music.
This program's got a little bit of something for everyone. I'm looking forward to it. Carlos Kalmar, always nice to chat with you.
Christa Wessel.